Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric in our long-running series, The Unported Playlist, where I take a look at some of my favorite unported arcade games of all time. And today we have Tumble Pop, released by Data East in 1991. If you ever played Bobble or Snow Brothers or Nightmare in the Dark, you're going to know what you're getting into on this one. But it is just different enough and so colorful, I absolutely love it and wanted to talk about it. Before we get too far involved though, give me a huge favor, go down below, hit like, subscribe, that notification bell definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below in the description as well. But right off the bat, you can tell what this game is. It's a single screen action platform puzzle game, and the main hook is that you need to vacuum up your opponents. It's kind of like Luigi's Mansion long before that game ever existed, and very similar to Bobble, you just need to clear the screen before you can move on. But it is different enough because the vacuum mechanic is quite interesting. You'll see it in a little bit, but you can't keep enemies in the vacuum too long or else they struggle to get out. That vacuum explodes and you blow up and lose a life. This game is very simple on its surface, but once you understand the combo chaining mechanics of high scoring, it becomes a lot deeper because the more enemies you can take out with one vacuum burst, the more points you're going to achieve because you're going to get those higher level power-ups and items showing up on screen. If we go to the top of the screen here and we use that Kappa and knock everybody else down with him, that's going to be better than just destroying a single enemy. We failed there. So a lot of this game, the fun is in trying to get the highest score possible because once you understand the mechanics of chaining those attacks, it's going to get really, really good for you. But I just love how this game looks, and you can see there that vacuum did explode because I waited too long. But Data East always made super colorful, super vibrant, super graphically intense games, and Tumble Pop is no different. Some of their best works I would put up against Capcom, Namco, Konami, and Sega as far as 2D sprite work is concerned, and I love how big this giant squid is on screen. It's a massive sprite, the sound effects are great, the colors are great, everything about this is just cute and colorful, and because the gameplay is so good as well, it's definitely one if you've never played before you're going to enjoy checking out. Now I do understand that this is just one game in that same genre of stuff like Bobble and Nightmare in the Dark, but it is different enough because in Bobble you're using bubbles to burst your enemies. In Nightmare in the Dark you're using fire to turn them into fireballs. Here you have that vacuum mechanic, and it does add just enough to make it a little bit more intense and a little more not confusing but deeply layered when you're playing the game. But I just love how everything happens in this game, the sound effects, that colorful, bright world clear there. It is just so much fun, and each stage has a very unique soundtrack and look to it. It might be the same Tumble Pop theme, but now that we're in Brazil, it has a different sort of vibe to the music. I love how they use the same track and redo it over and over again. And you'll see there, as I did get that enemy ball rolling a little more, I was able to get a higher score off the death. And the game will definitely change itself. You'll see these fire pits here in the middle. They're going to continually spawn enemies until you destroy them. It takes 2 hits. So when you're on a screen and you're trying to clear it, you're going to know that you need to knock that out first, or else you're going to continually get enemies spawning and never be able to clear the stage. And each stage is technically timed. You will start running out of time just like in Bobble, so you want to manage your time while trying to maximize that score as well as possible. And that's why I love games like this. It's extremely simple to understand. Vacuum the enemy up, shoot it at another enemy to destroy it. Here with the boss, vacuum those fireballs up, throw them at the boss to try to damage him. But there is a lot of pattern-based recognition in this game because that fire dragon is going to go off screen, and you really need to time your attacks up to make sure you don't screw it up because you only have so much time to keep the enemies in that vacuum, and you need to time it up perfectly. But as good as this game looks, as great as it plays, the soundtrack is also spectacular, so go ahead and listen for like 30-45 seconds. I'll come back and tell you more why Tumble Pop is an awesome game you've probably never played. But enjoy! soundtrack is just so much fun, and I love how each stage has a different variation on almost the same tune. When you're in that winter wonderland, it almost has a Christmas vibe to it, and when you're in caveman times, it's got a little bit more of a drum beat going on. But a lot of what I love about Tumble Pop is the boss fights, because they are all unique and relatively intense. Obviously the same main hook goes on for each boss: suck up opponents and then go ahead and shoot them at the boss. Here, I think that might be Cookie Monster, by the way. It kind of looks like him. Maybe they copied that. The snowman has to have different parts of his body knocked off before you're able to actually hit his head effectively. So there is a lot of strategy in the game as how to defeat those bosses and how to do it quickly while also maximizing that high score. And that's one of my favorite aspects of the game, is getting better at something like this. I love an arcade game that is very simple at face value. You could give this to an 8-year-old kid if he's ever played video games before. They would understand it almost immediately. But once you get into the scoring mechanics and chaining those enemy deaths up and trying to maximize your high score, this game gets to be a completely different sort of genre. It becomes that high score attack game. And I can't say enough good about the sprite work as well. These ghosts here, the skeletons walking around, of course they're small sprites, but there's so many of them moving around screen at any one given time. It has just a really nice look. You can definitely tell this is a Japanese game because there's going to be a lot of Japanese themed enemies in it, and I really like that. I'm sure this one-eyed ghost here is probably something from Japanese lore mythology that I don't know. So if you do know what it is, leave me a comment down below, because a lot of times people that are more interested in that subject than I am actually know what's going on. And you'll see here, compared to the snowman, this boss actually you have to knock out the middle part of his body before you can attack the head. It's a really interesting mechanic, and you'll get to learn how each boss works independently of one another. And that's a lot of fun, is that there's a lot of learning in this game. But it is a quick pick up and play game, and it is even better if you have a second player. This is the type of game, crack open a few beers, put it on 2-player mode when you have some friends over, and you're going to have a ton of fun. And it also has a lot of other things to discover, like you can get this gun here that's just going to shoot a rainbow out, and that's going to be able to kill each of your opponents. There's just a lot of different variations and ways to play Tumble Pop, and that's what I love about a game like this. You can play it from a completely casual perspective. You can really try to get a 1cc on it. You can play to try to get the highest score possible, or you can just play with 2 players laughing and having fun. It gives you the ability to play it however you want to play it versus locking you into playing the game how the designers intended. And I always appreciate that in arcade games because I feel like they give them more versatility. Why didn't this one get ported? Who knows? Probably by the time there were systems able to run this, 2D games weren't that popular. But yeah, that's Tumble Pop. Leave me a comment down below and tell me if you've ever played. I'll be back next Sunday with another episode of Unported Playlists, and I'll have videos throughout the week as well. But like I mentioned earlier, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like, subscribe, and that notification bell definitely helps us out. We cleared the world, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.